So this lesson is designed for like variable components, and I'm going to kind of show you kind of a walkthrough as like an instructor, but I'm going to tell you certain points where to have the students like do the work on their own. So at the end of the project, the students will get like a little gallery where they have image components that they can modify, and they have their own custom modifiers that they're adding to it. So they can change the shadow radiuses. So for example, if I want a huge shadow on this top one, I can do like 30, and then it's a lot bigger shadow. So they're going to go through and learn about images, a little bit about debugging, and then on reusable components, how to create them and use them, and then variable types and variable usage inside of a component. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and just close this out and create a new Xcode. So I'm going to create the project. It's an iOS application. Variable image gallery. Did I spell that right? I think that's right. Create. All right, and then the first thing we're going to have them do is learn how to actually just use images. So we're going to go out on the web and find one image. So I'm going to go find an image on the web. Make sure it's a PNG or a JPEG. So if it's a WebP, they can open it with preview and then export as a PNG. But I'm going to go ahead and just drag one of these in. So this was actually in a museum, which was sad because it's a computer I used to use. It's not my personal computer there, but it's one of the ones. It's the Red Dot Lenovo ThinkPad. So you'll show them that once they drag them to assets, show them that, hey, you can name this whatever you want, but keep it a simple name. And then when you go back to your content view, you say, if you want to use that, you can delete all this stuff out. We're going to have an image. And we can do two ways. We could put quotes and the name. So that's one way. Another way is we can do dot and laptop. So that's a newer, like, nice feature. You don't misspell it that way. Then we're going to show them that that image is kind of huge. Some of them might not be, but we're going to make them resizable. And we're going to do a dot aspect ratio. We're going to do a dot fit. So I'm going to make it fit. And there we go. Now this is a VStack, so they should have already kind of gone through stacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to have them try finding 3 more images and add them to the stack. So on their own, now they got to find 3 more images. So they'll go out and find 3 more images. And then they'll do all the image tag and all that on their own. So, whoops. I'll give that up. And they should have all their images in the stack. Now we can also make it a little bit nicer. So you notice that it's kind of scrunched, but wait for them to get them all in. And then you come back and say, well, maybe we want this to be like bigger images, but you want to be able to scroll. So right click on the VStack and do an embed. We'll do a scroll view. All right, now we're going to make it where we can have a custom and we can use some variables. So notice we had a lot of copy and paste. We had the resizable aspect and all that stuff. And there might be certain things we want to kind of modify for each image, but we don't want to like always do a lot of modifiers on one spot. So we're going to show them how to do a custom component. So we're going to right click over here and do a new file from template. It's going to be a SwiftUI view. And I'm going to call it a custom image. We're going to create that. And it's not going to be an image to start with. We're just going to have them type their name in it. And they're going to see their image right there. Well, their name right there. And then we're going to have them actually put that into the content view. So we're saying, okay, we're creating this struct that's a custom image. And we can reuse that anywhere, just like we used that image tag before. So we're going to go back to our content view and go on our VStack, and we're going to do our custom image. There we can see our name appeared, so our tag works. So we can put anything inside that, and it will appear in that area where that is. So we're going to go back to our custom image. We're going to modify it a little bit. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this very first image that we built, copy that, and I'm going to go over here, replace my text, and paste in that custom image. and I'll see that laptop again. Now, I want to make it so it's variable so it's not always this laptop. So we're going to put in, so we had two options. We had that dot or we had a string. So we're going to take advantage of that string that we could use. So we're going to do a var image name and make it a string, and we're going to stop there. So we're going to give the variable, the name, and the type. Now, since we don't have a value for it, it's going to be mad. So the preview down here, it's going to say it's missing a thing. So I'm going to click on that. And there's a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and fix it. So I'm going to do the bottom fix to insert the image name. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and do the quote. And then we wait a little bit, and this is where we get that debugging. So it's going to go for a little bit, and then it's going to crash. It's going to say it's failed. It's like, dang it. But you're looking over here, there's no red going on. So we're going to point out to the student to debug this. This is actually an issue further out. So if we look up here, there's a little red X up here. And we can also show them this thing too. You can click on this, and it gives a little bit. So it says it's missing an argument. We just filled that in though, but it's actually in a different file. That's where it gets kind of confusing. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to want to track it down a little bit better. So I'm going to go up here to this error area, click on Show the Errors. You'll notice that here it's the Error Explorer. Or is it an error navigator? Issue navigator. So issue navigator, make sure they understand that. And then go to the missing arguments, click on that, and then there's that issue. So that's that one we put in before, and that's what's causing this to crash. To fix it, instead of fixing it, I'm going to show them a real quick little tip. Do a command / to comment that out. And then we can come back to that because we don't want to constantly keep on fixing it while we're making this component. So this will allow us to just comment it out for right now and then fix it one time later. So that's all working again. And then if we go back to our component, our custom image, we'll see our laptop, not our quote. So we'll point out that, hey, we got the wrong image showing up here. So we created our variable, but we never used it. So we'll point out that, hey, we want to use this image name somewhere. So in the images, we're going to put that image name. And then now I see the quote. Then you can also say, try out your other ones. So I'm going to put in my dinosaurs, make sure it works too. And notice that by changing the name in here, it changes this component. So it's dynamic, it's variable. Now we're going to do a couple other things. We're going to do a dot padding to make it a little bit nicer. And then before the padding, so the order does matter, we're going to put a border on this. So let's do a dot border. And we'll do the content with the width. And the content, we're just going to do a color dot black. And then the width, we're going to do like 5 or something like that. So we'll see that we have a border on there. Now to the students, you give them the challenge, okay, I want you to create a variable so that that border can be a variable width. So I want to make it so that we can pass something down here so that we get that variable width. So give them a little bit of time. They'll have to come up with the variable name and the type. There might be issues if they choose an int. So we'll say like border size. Because you notice 5 right here is an int. So if they choose an int, and then they go down here and they fix it, and put in like a 5, or we'll do a 10. And then where the width is, once they put that variable in, it should throw an error. And then with the student, you kind of sit with them and try to, so we can either cast it with this fix, or we can see that it needs to be a CG float. So we really want to think about that here. Do we want to cast it, or do we want to just fix it above? So the quick fix above, instead of making it an int, we can do a CG float. But let them know both ways are valid. So that's fixed. Now I got a much bigger border. Okay, the next step is we're going to show them, we can actually search for different effects. So if I click here and press return, I'll have a space. We're going to add another modifier. I'm going to go to that library. So I'm going to go up here to the library, that little plus. And we have all these opportunities. So if we want to add like objects, or we want to add modifiers, we can do that. And if we scroll down, the orange ones are kind of more specific. The green ones are like the effects. Those are the cool ones. So there, if we go down here, we'll look at some of these options. Where we're going to go down to the S's. There's a shadow. So we're going to choose a shadow. We're going to double click on that. Also note the documentation is there for them. Right now it has a default of 10. Have them replace that with a variable. So practice again. Okay, try to make that variable too. So then they'll give some time. We'll go shadow radius. And then also have a discussion with them about which variable did they choose. So don't tell them to put in shadow radius. See what they use as a variable name and have a discussion with them individually saying, how'd you come up with that name, that kind of thing. Is it a descriptive name or is it just like the letter A or something like that? So, yep, we'll go ahead and fix that right down here. 12 or 20. And then for the radius, whoa, sometimes it does that. There we go. And then where that 10 is, we're going to put in our variable. We're going to use our variable. So make sure that they're actually using those variables in that spot. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and kind of, once they get that working, we're going to jump back to the content view. We're going to destroy all these images. And we're going to command / to bring that one back. It's going to throw an error. We're going to click on that and fix all those arguments at once. And then put in an image. And then have them put in, so we'll put in 1. So 34. So we'll put in 1. And then have them put their other 3 images in using that custom image. All right, so we got our stuff in. So wait for them to get all that in. And then we're going to say, well, wait a minute, I want to add a little bit more. So let's go to our custom image, and we're going to refactor this with the ability to add our own custom color to our image. So we're going to try doing this. So we'll kind of walk them through. We're going to say we're going to do a var. We'll call it the border color. Actually, and we have to think about this. Do we want that border color here or there? Kind of. So it doesn't make sense to go to the border size, then the radius, and then the color. So let's put that in a better spot. Let's actually put that right here. So var border color. And then this type is not one that we really talked about, but it's one that we've used. It's a color. So objects can be types too. Now it's going to get mad down here. I'm going to go ahead and fix it. So I'm going to fix that and add that border color. And I'll do like a dot red. And then I wait for that dot red to appear, and there's going to be an error. It's going to be a crash. And oh, that's that custom image. Now, it's actually lying to us because it's not one error. Once we fix this one, we'll have to fix this one, and this one, and this one. So I don't want to have to fix all those. So I'm going to make a default property. So we're going to go back to our code and go to our custom image. And I'm going to say the border color, we can set that, but if we don't set it, it's going to be equal to dot black. And then now it'll just magically work. So give it a little bit of time to build. So you see I got a black color. Now the reason for that, if I go in here where it says color.black, I'm going to do my border color. And wait just a little bit. And now it's red. So this one I specified to be red. But if I go back to my content view, they're all going to be black because none of them specify that. So with that default, this lets them know like when they're setting these, this is how they actually get that kind of functionality. So like on this one, I'll make this a red because it's a red dot. So in here, if I option click on this, I can see that I pass it an image name, a border size, a border color, or a shadow radius. So, but notice the border color is not there. So I know that I need to put the border color after the border size, but I can kind of get information about this. Even though this is one I created, there's still options to see that. So definitely show them that option click so they can get that information. So after the border size, I can put a border color. And I can do a dot red there and do the comma. Okay, now have them go through and change the color of each of these borders to a different color and see if they can get that to work. And then the final step of the activity in custom image, they're going to press return right here, and they're going to find 3 effects on their own. So they'll do the plus, so remind them you can go to the plus, and just try any of these effects. So have them, whoops. So have them try, so you can do any of these effects. Have them try any of them and see if they can get them to work. Some of them are a little more complicated than others, but try to troubleshoot it. Spend a little bit of time practicing with them. Some of the best ones, probably like a shadow, color invert, grayscale. So not shadow, they already did shadow. You can do hue rotation. Grayscale is an easy one. If I do grayscale, so by having this on the other side of the border, ooh, there we go. Also note when it's a highlighted blue, make sure they press return on that. That way it's not a placeholder. But you notice how that grayscaled the border? And if I put that back up to above the border, now the grayscale doesn't affect that border. I do kind of like it affecting that border though. Now they would have to do on their own. They would have to do their variables. So make sure they're doing their own variables. And default grayscale is 0.0. 1 is all gray. 0 is no gray. And then down here, I'll have my grayscale amount. And then if I go to my content view, I can add my grayscale amount and 0.7. There we go, looking pretty nice. So that's the basics of the activity. Once they're done with those 3, have them kind of go around and look at each other's work and see which modifiers they chose and if they had any issues implementing them and how it worked for them.